There's a shift that happens after 40. You stop accumulating and start curating. The things you keep aren't about proving anything anymore. They serve your life, reflect your standards, and age with you. This isn't a list of status symbols. No one's checking what you wear or carry, but you know, and that's what matters. 14 items, not flexes, just pieces that fit a life you've already built. If any resonate, I've linked the ones I personally trust below. Take what's useful. Let's get into it. 1. Premium leather wallet. By 40, the things you carry every day have to mean something. A wallet is no longer a bulked-up pocket brick packed with receipts and expired cards. It becomes a quiet symbol of how you move through the world. Organized, intentional, respectful of your own presence. A premium leather wallet isn't about luxury for its own sake. It's about choosing something built with care, something that breaks in the way a good jacket or a good life should. Slowly, honestly, and with visible character. Full-grain leather doesn't wear out. It patinas. It softens and deepens. It becomes proof of years lived and choices made. You don't need a flashy emblem, oversized branding, or a color that announces itself. You just need something built to last longer than your phone upgrade cycle. Something that feels like it belongs to the life you've earned. A wallet like the bridal leather Billfold ages the way a man should, with dignity and refinement, not fragility. You feel it every time you reach for it. The stitching, the grain, the absence of plastic edges and synthetic shine. A good wallet doesn't change who you are. It reflects that you finally know. You don't carry a wallet at this age to be seen. You carry it so you can move cleanly. And that same philosophy applies to something far more powerful than leather, borders. 2. Passport and the quiet power of having two. At 40, a passport stops being a travel booklet and starts becoming something more serious. Permission, mobility, leverage. It represents the ability to leave when you need to, return when you choose to, and move without asking permission from your circumstances. A man at 25 wants vacations. A man at 40 understands freedom of movement. Most people never consider the value of a second passport until life forces the conversation. But dual citizenship, when it's legitimate and earned through ancestry, residency, or marriage, isn't a novelty. It's insulation. It means if the political climate shifts, if tax laws change, if opportunity relocates, you can move with it instead of waiting for the world to make room. I've seen men chase status through cars or watches, but a passport is the only document that actually rewrites your options. It won't make you important, but it will quietly widen your life. And if you never get a single valid passport that isn't expired, frayed, or forgotten in a drawer still matters. It signals readiness, that if something calls you beyond your borders, you aren't filling out forms at the last minute. Travel isn't always luxury. Sometimes it's relief, perspective, or escape. A passport doesn't make you worldly, and it simply gives you permission to become so. Freedom looks different when you no longer feel the need to escape. Once movement becomes choice instead of urgency, presence matters more. 3. The Peacoat. Quiet, seasoned, permanent. A Peacoat isn't trend, and it isn't nostalgia. It's one of the few garments that has crossed oceans, decades, and generations without ever needing reinvention. By 40, you've likely owned coats that were fine, coats that kept you warm, coats that looked decent in passing. But a true Peacoat, heavy Melton wool, structured collar, honest weight, doesn't just keep you from the cold. It gives you structure. What I love about a Peacoat at this age is the absence of explanation. You don't need it to announce anything. The clean, double-breasted front, the anchoring buttons, the quiet silhouette, it does its job without borrowing attention. A man in a Peacoat looks composed even when the day isn't. Shoulders square, lines clean, presence sharpened by the simplicity of good wool. Fabric matters more than variety. A well-made Peacoat outlasts every synthetic winter coat that looks tired after 2 seasons. Something like a navy shot Melton coat deepens over time instead of peeling, thinning, or collapsing. You don't own a Peacoat to be noticed. You own it because at 40, you finally understand that some things earn their place not by being new, but by never becoming outdated. Some things stay because they earned their permanence. Others stay because they reflect the life that chose them. 4. A solid, reliable car. By 40, a car becomes less about identity and more about alignment. You aren't choosing something to impress strangers on the highway. You're choosing a machine that reflects the life you've built. Steady, maintained, purposeful. A gentleman in his 40s should drive something he respects, something engineered with intention, not urgency. And yes, if you can afford it without strain, a Porsche is a beautiful example of craftsmanship. The precision of the steering, the weight of the door, the quiet confidence of knowing the car was built, not rushed. But here's the truth many men don't learn until later. A car won't make you someone. It won't fix insecurity, command respect, or build character. Buy a car because you love how it drives, how it handles, how it settles you when the world outside is loud. A well-kept BMW, a Lexus that ages without drama, a Toyota that simply refuses to die, all carry the same dignity when chosen for you, not for applause. A great car at 40 is defined by reliability, by pleasure, and by quiet pride in ownership. Not the badge, not the exterior reaction, but the calm you feel when the road opens and the noise disappears. When you stop buying for applause, time itself becomes more interesting than attention. And time, when worn well, isn't decoration. It's identity. 5. A signature watch. As we get older, a watch stops being a prop. You're no longer wearing time on your wrist to prove something. You wear it because you respect it. A mechanical watch is heritage, discipline, lineage. The weight of an Omega or even a Casio isn't just metal. It's engineering that outlives you. You wind it, you maintain it, you pass it on. It asks nothing loud of you, and that's the point. But here's what most men don't admit. A clean smartwatch might actually serve your life more honestly. At this age, the real luxury isn't complexity, it's information. Sleep cycles, heart rate, recovery, steps, how well you actually rest instead of how well you perform. A polished Apple Watch on a leather strap can be more responsible than a Rolex that never tells you how your heart is doing. A mechanical watch is legacy, a reminder that good things are built slowly. A smartwatch is stewardship, proof that you're still invested in staying here in good health for the people who expect you to. Either choice works. Both are respectable. The only mistake is wearing a watch because you think the world needs to see it. A man over 40 wears one because it quietly supports his life. Time teaches restraint, and restraint shapes everything you carry, especially the things that go with you every day. 6. A quality bag. By 40, the bag you carry shouldn't look like it's still proving something. You don't need oversized logos, pattern prints, or hardware that tries to be the conversation. A well-made bag at this age is leather or canvas with presence, stitching that holds, and structure that doesn't collapse after 2 flights or a year of commuting. I learned this when I finally retired the bags that looked exciting but aged poorly. Corners frayed, handles peeled, straps cracked. They were built for attention, not longevity. A proper leather brief or weekender doesn't ask for applause. It simply arrives with you, holds what matters, and leaves no trace of the journey except a deepening patina. Something like a St. Bernard rugged Twill brief or a leather weekender from Moore & Giles isn't about showing status. It's about owning an object that wears in, not out. Over time, the grain softens, the handle molds to your hand, and the leather takes on your history instead of fighting it. A quality bag isn't decoration, it's infrastructure. It carries your tools, your passport, your documents, your daily rhythm, and does it without interruption or performance. At 40, that quiet reliability is the point. Not the flash, not the flex, just the steadiness of something built to go the distance with you. Tools that travel with you should make movement lighter, not louder. That philosophy doesn't stop at the handle, it follows the wheels. 7. Proper luggage. By 40, travel isn't chaos anymore. You're not sprinting through terminals with fraying zippers and wheels that wobble like shopping carts. Proper luggage matters not because it's impressive, but because it removes friction. A well-built suitcase turns travel from performance into efficiency. You move, it follows. Nothing breaks. I stopped buying sleek, trendy suitcases that looked good for one trip and retired themselves by the third. Real luggage isn't defined by hype. It's defined by function. Wheels that don't fight you, hardware that doesn't bend, materials that don't panic the moment a baggage handler stops carrying. Something like a crate and barrel, it's about knowing your belongings arrive intact. No arguing with zippers, no late-night duct tape, just calm, predictable movement. At 40, reliability isn't boring, it's freedom. If any pieces I've mentioned feel like they belong in your life, I've linked trusted options below, items I've used long enough to stand behind. And if this resonates, subscribe. It helps more men find a calmer, more intentional way to show up. 8. Sunglasses that aren't trendy. By 40, sunglasses stop being a costume. You're past mirrored lenses, oversized logos, colored frames that shout before you speak. You don't need trends clinging to your face. You need clarity, both in sight and in identity. A good pair of sunglasses should protect your eyes, calm your expression, and disappear into your presence instead of performing for it. I learned this after buying pairs that looked exciting but aged like gimmicks, frames that were too thin, lenses too reflective, shapes that belong to a younger version of me trying to be noticed. The right pair at 40 has weight, simplicity, and proportion. Dark tortoise or deep black acetate, lenses that filter sunlight rather than distort it, hinges that don't loosen after a single summer. A frame like the Ray-Ban isn't iconic because it wants attention. It's iconic because it never required it. No neon accents, no forced edge, just craftsmanship that stays the same no matter what fashion tries to do around it. You don't need sunglasses to create mystery. At this age, you've already earned it. What you need is clarity, optical and internal. A pair that protects your eyes, complements your face, and never announces itself louder than you do. When you stop needing to be seen, clarity becomes more interesting than spectacle. Not just for your eyes, but for your mind. 9. A hardcover library. There comes a point when books stop being something you consume and start becoming something you keep. Not to fill shelves, not to look cultured, but because certain ideas deserve a physical, lasting form. A hardcover library isn't about showing what you've read. It's about honoring what stayed with you. Digital reading is convenient. Audio is efficient. But a hardcover carries weight you can't swipe away. The margin you wrote in during a difficult year, the folded page from a moment that changed your perspective, the underlined line you didn't fully understand until 10 years later. Those become part of the book as much as the ink. I realized the value of keeping physical books when I revisited titles I thought I'd outgrown. They hadn't changed. I had. The spine, the texture, the aging cover, they become a quiet archive of who you were when you first opened them. A leather-bound Hemingway like the one down below isn't decor, it's continuity. It reminds you that the internal world matters as much as the external, that a man over 40 isn't just building income or comfort, but perspective. A shelf of hardcover classics doesn't make you impressive. It makes you accountable to your own evolution. Perspective grows stiller with age, but stillness doesn't mean stagnation. The body has to keep up. 10. Gym membership or trainer. Strength means something different at 40. You're not chasing abs for validation or trying to outlift the version of yourself from a decade ago. You're training to stay here, present, capable, durable. A gym membership or a thoughtful trainer isn't about becoming impressive. It's about remaining functional. I stopped viewing fitness as a project and started viewing it as maintenance. The joints that used to warm up in seconds take longer. Sleep quality dictates performance more than caffeine. And mobility, not muscle volume, becomes the quiet priority behind everything. Posture, energy, mood, focus. A good trainer at this stage isn't someone who screams macros and punishment. It's someone who corrects form, protects tendons, builds strength without ego, and keeps you working in alignment with the life you're actually living. A smart routine is less about intensity and more about consistency. 45 quiet minutes, 3 or 4 times a week, done patiently. Whether that happens in a private studio, a membership gym, or your garage doesn't matter. What matters is refusing the slide into passive aging. Your body is no longer a canvas for ambition. It's the infrastructure that carries everything you love. Treat it accordingly. Strength is only reliable when recovery is real. And recovery begins where guessing ends. 11. Health tools. There's a quiet shift that happens around 40. You stop guessing what's happening in your body, and you start wanting to know. Not obsessively, not with spreadsheets and self-punishment, but with clarity. A sleep tracker, recovery band, or wearable isn't a flex. It's a mirror. It tells you how you're actually living, not how you assume you are. I used to rely on instinct. I sleep fine. I recover well. I'm not stressed. But the numbers said otherwise. And it wasn't about panic. It was about awareness. When you see how caffeine affects your heart rate, how alcohol steals deep sleep, how late screens flatten REM, it becomes harder to pretend. A Whoop band or an Oura ring doesn't make you healthier by itself. It simply removes the illusion that everything is fine without effort. At this age, strength is predictable only when rest is real. Productivity only feels good when recovery isn't borrowed. You're not tracking to compete. You're tracking to preserve. The goal isn't perfection, it's ownership. Small adjustments that let you live longer in the life you've built. Better sleep, calmer mornings, fewer mystery aches, more energy for the people who rely on you. Longevity isn't loud, it's measured, and then protected. And once you know what your body needs, maintenance becomes respect instead of vanity. 12. A grooming kit. Grooming shifts in meaning after 40. It stops being presentation and starts being maintenance. The quiet discipline of keeping yourself in order without spectacle. You don't need 12 serums or a drawer of half-used bottles. You need a kit that does its job cleanly, predictably, without turning your sink into a project. A proper safety razor was the first upgrade that taught me this. Cartridge razors rush, electric razors buzz and irritate. But a well-balanced safety razor like the one from DETOX Market forces you to slow down just enough to avoid treating your face like an afterthought. And the rest of the kit follows the same principle. A single good moisturizer, a natural shaving cream, a brush that doesn't shed everywhere, clippers that don't jam. Not grooming like a hobby, but grooming like a man who understands the value of upkeep. You don't maintain yourself to look young. You maintain yourself to look awake, alert, rested, comfortable in your skin, rather than chasing the one you had 20 years ago. At 40, you're not polishing for attention. You're honoring the vessel that carries your name, your work, and the people who count on you. That's not vanity, that's stewardship. If upkeep is dignity, readiness is presence. Some moments don't wait until you're prepared. 13. A tailored navy suit. A man over 40 doesn't need a closet of suits. He needs one that fits, truly fits. Not good enough, not slightly tight in the shoulders or loose in the waist, but shaped to the body he actually has, not the one he remembers. A tailored navy suit isn't about corporate dress codes or wedding photos. It's about readiness. One phone call, one dinner, one unexpected moment where you need to look composed without hesitation. When I invested in proper tailoring, I realized the suit itself mattered less than the shaping. Fabric can be replaced, buttons changed, but fit is the silent authority of a man who takes himself seriously. A navy suit in soft worsted wool, something like the ACME CULTUM, moves with you instead of against you. It doesn't fight your posture or broadcast effort. The beauty of navy is its neutrality, formal without stiffness, dignified without pretending. Pair it with polished Oxfords or quiet loafers and it works in any room, any hour. You're not wearing it to impress a crowd. You're wearing it so you never scramble when presence is required. A good suit says nothing. It simply prevents you from needing to. 14. A quality writing instrument. In a world where everything is typed, tapped, deleted, and rewritten without pause, a real pen forces you to commit. Not rush, not revise mid-sentence, but choose your words before they land. That's why a fountain pen earns its place at 40. Not as ornament, not as old-world nostalgia, but as a reminder that certain thoughts deserve to be written, not merely sent. I didn't understand this until I owned one. Digital notes evaporate. Typed messages scroll past. But ink has gravity. When you sign your name, write a condolence, mark an anniversary, draft a letter the weight of the nib slows you. It tells you the moment matters. A Mont Blanc or a Pilot. Custom 823 isn't status, it's stewardship of language. The pen you choose doesn't need a glass case or display stand, it just needs permanence, something that won't crack when dropped or dry out after 6 months of neglect. A writing instrument at this stage of life isn't about flourish, it's about finality. A mark that stays. A signature that holds. Most things can be edited. Not vows, not farewells, not decisions that change your family's direction. For those moments, a pen is not a prop, it's clarity. At 40, the things you own stop being about accumulation. They become evidence of what you've learned, what you value, and how you choose to move through the world. None of this is about status. None of it is about proving anything to anyone. It's about alignment, owning things that serve the life you've built instead of chasing a life you're still trying to prove. Quality over quantity, longevity over novelty, quiet confidence over noise. If you want to explore any of the pieces I mentioned, they're linked below. The next video continues this conversation. I'll see you there.